Hey everybody, today I'm working a piece of coastal that I got from Florida, from Pearl Yoder a while back. And anyways, I want to show you how to turn this into a point. So I'm thinking about doing a Marion style point. They find that out of coral. They find it out of coastal in lower Alabama, South Alabama, and in South Georgia. But we'll see what we got here. Shouldn't be too crusty at all. Should be fairly easy to work something out of this. So follow along with me. Just got a 1-inch lead-filled copper bopper, and I'm gonna see what we can do. There's a little curve right here I got to get out. So one of the tips I normally do is I like to, get it relatively flat, and before I make any huge stripes in the center, I like to get rid of a lot of mass on the back and on the front of the point. And that way there's no chance it's gonna break in the middle. When you have a lot of mass on either the tip or the base, and you try to hit a strike in the middle, a lot of times it'll just break in half. I think that's something that most people know, but something I'm trying to incorporate in my flint knapping. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and I really enjoy it. I work mostly coastal and coral. I work some Tallahatta, have some big old large spalls of black Tallahatta here that I'm gonna work eventually, but haven't got to it yet. But mostly I'll work some coral, some Withlacoochee coral, or some Alabama coastal. And I'll work them in spalls too. This is some of the coastal that I collect near Dothan, Alabama, and heated it up. Even worked some Flint River, and then some Chattahoochee chirp that I collected that I absolutely love. That's actually my favorite material, is that Chattahoochee stuff. All right, so we still got a little bit of Cortex. So gonna make a quick basal strike, a little bit higher up. You don't want to hit on the edge. You want to make sure you get a good hit right there. I did hit a little low. Reabrade, and abrading's important when you're knapping coral and coastal. It's just not the same. It can be dense at times, and you just really have to grind it. Same way with Tallahatta, when you're working some Tallahatta quartzite. You gotta make sure you grind. Coral's not as important to grind really hard, but with coastal, you most certainly do. So right here, there's a lot on the edge right here that's just gonna crush away anyways, so it's not gonna be a part of the point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And still looking to reduce this point down a little bit. It's some really good coral, and I appreciate Pearl Yoder, Dan Yoder, I should say, for sending this material to me. I'll try to do it justice if I can. I'm gonna kind of raise this edge right here. Even though I'm having to attack down into that Cortex, it leaves me with just an okay platform, and I'll use my leg for this. Actually, yeah, I'll use my leg. I actually free-handed it, so I lied. But Yeah, I use different techniques for whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I like having it on the pad, you know, if I want to get a long, you know, straight strike. But sometimes I trust my hands a little bit more. Didn't have a great platform there, so gonna make sure that platform's okay. You know, if that platform isn't okay, it's just not gonna run on coastal and on coral. Actually, I'm gonna grab my bigger bopper. Yeah, not too shabby. Moved a decent little flake there. Got a small platform. If I can hit it. There we go. It wanted to crush on me, but that's okay. Do a little bit of a zigzag here, nothing too crazy. And there's where you can see where coral can sometimes be dense. If you're not used to working coral, it can be easy, but sometimes it can be difficult. It depends on the grade you get, depends on the quality. And Dan Yoder usually has some great quality stuff. So I'm gonna see if we can, I know if I hit it this way, it's just not gonna run. The platform isn't there. So I think I'm gonna take this platform instead off the opposite side. And that drove all the way across. I don't know how to explain that very well. I wasn't really satisfied with how this platform was set up. I knew it wouldn't travel all the way. So I just decided, well, let's not do that. And let's hit a different platform. And so I used to have this indirect stick under my leg, but I've found that I will never ever do that again, because I found this way is much easier. It doesn't hurt my leg at all. Had to hit that one hard. There's some internal stuff here. That's okay. We'll see if we can work around it. I'm surprised that didn't shatter right there. Okay, let's keep going. And try to get that sharp edge off right there. It's not something you want to have to deal with, not at all. I know I'm gonna have to bring in the shoulders at this point, at some point, because I'm making a Marion style, which has almost like a Pickwick flavor to it, Noonan flavor to it. Right here, I set up a platform trying to drive it across. It probably won't get that hump, but we'll see what happens. Look at there, it did get that hump. That's what you get for having a decent platform. I hope this has been focused in all the way. If it hasn't, I might cry. No, I wouldn't cry. Wouldn't cry over that. However, I have been making some videos. I made like 2 other ones before this. One was not an appropriate angle. If you've done this, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Removing some off that tip there. And the other one, I was working some awful coastal to try to make a point, and it broke. So I was like, well. And then the last video I did got interrupted. So for this one, I had to put it on airplane mode and make sure nobody calls me or talks to me while I do this. So I still got a lot of mass at the tip right here. I'm gonna try to remove all that. Let me see if y'all can. Still got some mass right here where that brownish area is. It's already got a decent bevel, so I'm not gonna braid it opposite to where I'm gonna strike, which you normally would do. But on On these tip strikes and base strikes, you're gonna wanna really support. And if you have good support, it's not gonna break. But you also gotta know what you're doing. Make sure you got a decent platform. And I will say the problem with coral and coastal is that it's so dense and so tough. You'll have a great platform, but it'll break because it's so dense. Like that right there. Traveled well and got a little dip in there, but we'll be able to get that out, obviously, from both sides. So lots of options. Then I'm gonna go ahead and clear this part out here. I can do that with direct. Okay, clean that off there. The base is a little high. What I mean by high is there's like a flat area and then the base is a little bit thicker. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm gonna go from the corners. I mean, why go from the base when you can go from the corners, right? I mean, we're making a stem point, right? This isn't the greatest platform. So I'm not driving in. I was driving in at first and I was like, well, I'll just drive straight down. Still got a large hump of mass right there, but I'm gonna wait until I clean up this tip and this base. Ah, that took off a little bit too much. Not too shabby. Nope, we're still good. We're still good. We'll say sometimes that high quality material it'll just break on you, you know. When you're in a thin spot like I am right now, kind of just gotta say a prayer. Basically what I mean there is, like, if you got a really thin area and you're trying to draw off a large flake beside it, sometimes it just ain't gonna run. And not only that, it'll cause a huge dip. You might be able to see what I'm talking about right here. Okay, strike, I'm gonna go beside it. Okay. All right, that left a little bit of nasty in the middle. Probably because of the way the coral is structured in this rock. That has nothing to do with this being bad. This is a great rock. Actually, you know what? I held off on that. That's a great platform, but I'm not gonna hit it yet. Why, you ask? Because it's in the middle. And, okay, so 2 options here. I can either, get this focused in. I got a flat portion here. So I'm thinking about taking some shorter strikes here, but it's beveled enough where honestly I could take it off of this side. But what if they don't run all the way across? So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and flatten out this side before I make any dumb decisions. Better grind that, huh? Let me see. Okay. Look at that. So you see kind of what I'm doing. I got a couple strikes there. I'm gonna go right here. Now, ideally, I wanna make 10 to 15 minute videos. So, I mean, if this ends in the next minute and it goes to another video, I'm so sorry. But just click on the next one if you're interested. If you're not interested in this, then that's okay, you know. I hope it's been informational at least. I think I really enjoy doing this so far. Even though I messed up the past few videos, I really enjoy doing this. And I want to get to where I do it really slow and I can kind of work through it and talk to you about each and every hit that I'm making. Obviously, when I'm trying to show you how to do a really, really nice point, I mean, I got to go somewhat quick and not waste your time. But I will say, just cleaning up that tip, making it really, really thin. There's no way this thing's gonna focus. Anyways, now the base is a little bit too thick. So we better go back to that and work on that and see what we got. It's beveled down, so let's... There we go. Okay. Go ahead and hit across right here. I didn't want to hit too much in right there because I still want to be able to have some convexity for the other side. You know, if I don't have convexity for the other side, I'm kind of burnt. There's that middle hit that I was going for, but got some problems. That's why we got a whole nother side right here. And it's a good thing I waited, huh? See? Sometimes patience is key. I could have just went ahead and hit this side and been like, okay, there we go. But sometimes it's better to wait it out. Feel out how your rock's doing and then go from there. So, yep. Now that looks good. Does that look good to you? I don't know if it'll clean all that up, but it'll get very close. So I'm gonna start from the tip here and work down. Look at that, got a nice flake. And I'll tell you, I don't wanna do that. I would go ahead and remove it here and meet that flake scar that I hit here and then meet it from this side because there's some mass there. But if I do that, then it's possible that when I draw this large flake, it breaks on me. So it's better just to wait. Even though you want to see it be real pretty, sometimes it's better to wait. And look at that, cleared up all that mess in the middle to where it's very flat. I think the problem with me is that I'm greedy. I'm very greedy. And sometimes I just need to take it slow, be precise, know what I'm doing. And I think that making a video like this helps me kind of talk through what I'm doing. And so far has seemed to help me, you know, make smarter decisions. So I think I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. Go ahead and draw this point in and then I'll get back to you. All right, so continuing to thin this guy down. I have two sides to this. One's well, there we go. One's a little thicker, copper insert. And then this one is a little bit smaller. So even when you get to this point where you got a small little thin preform for what you got going on, you still got to make sure you got a decent platform for what you're hitting. Because if your platform isn't good, then, well, let's just say the end result won't be. See, that's what happens with decent material. And you think everything's good, but then you get that one little problem just sets you back. Luckily, that one's not bad though. So that's good. Honestly, it kind of set us up for a decent little hit. The problem is, if you have a little problem area like that, a lot of times it'll mess up the hit beside it. So I got a little step right here and I'm trying to go past it. I don't know if it's gonna work out. And it did. It got past that little step and I can catch that off the other side. So we're doing well. Still shaping this up. I honestly thought about just going for a Savannah River. I was like, man, that'd make a killer Savannah River. But nope, gonna stick with what I got. Still gonna go Marion. Now, in all honesty, honesty, I've only made like one Marion before. So I'm trying to make all the coastal points for a big, large, huge case that I'm trying to put together that contain all sorts of points, from coastal, all sorts of coastal points. So from Florida, Alabama, Georgia, anything in the coastal regions, I want to be able to, I'm not even using this, but I guess I like the comfort of having it on my lap. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, I guess. But trying to make a big case, and I've got quite a few that I've got off the list that I've done so far, but a Marion is one that I still need to work on. It's got a rounded base, so instead of a Pickwick that normally has a very squared off base, this one has a very a rounder base. And the reason I'm braiding this base so much is because, you know, one strike can really mess you up. You know, you want to make sure it's all cleared off. You know, at a lot of points, the base is just super thick. And it makes sense because it's the widest part of the piece, right? I mean, the tip isn't going to be as wide as the base, is it? Never. Unless you got a crazy Snyder point or whatever you got working on. That's usually never the case for the points I'm making. Anyways, just shaping up the base. And I'll share with you once I get a little bit closer to a finished product. I guess it won't focus for me. Anyways, that's the thinness. We'll do some pressure flaking and then we'll get back to you. All right, so a quick update. Still working on this. The base looks like a Pickwick right now, but that's kind of where we're at. Oopsies. And so still shaping it up. And so while I have a minute, I brought some other points that I wanted to share that I've done recently. This is out of some of that same material, and this is a Pickwick that I made. And it came out really, really well. Really happy with it. It's out of coral, obviously. And then here's a Noonan, so a little bit different style base, but hopefully you can see that well. See how thin that came out? Came out great. Here's a little bowline I finished a while back. See, the problem with bowlines is the authentic ones were thick, and so it's hard to get a decent little bevel on a really thin piece. That's coral. This is a clay point out of Alabama coastal. Still very thin, extremely translucent. Then this is a cold breath out of raw coastal. See, I got that one fairly thin as well. And none of these came from slabs. These were all from spalls. But anyways, wanted to show you the base of that Pickwick to show you this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of point. So this kind of looks a little bit crusty compared to this, but both of these are from Dan Yoder. So great quality stuff. So let's just pick a little bit off. But let's continue and see if we can shape this up. All right, so once you feel like you've gotten your piece thin enough, that is when you start going to pressure. Excuse me, and using your pressure pad. And so I got me a little wooden back pressure pad here. Already abraded my stone and got a sharp tip. Just grinded that earlier with just a simple little tool. And now we're gonna press some flakes off. And so went ahead and grinded it like I said, and get this little indirect stick out of the way. That way it's not bothering you. Okay. And if it's a little higher up, if it's not a low platform, then let's see. There you go, now you can see it. If it's a higher platform, I'm just gonna hit straight down. But if it's low, kind of like this is right here, then I'll kind of hit more in than I will down. So This one I pressed much further in. And you just keep going. Keep going. If you've done slabs, you know exactly how to do this. And even if you've never flint knapped before in your life, you can still press some of these flakes off, given you have some decent material. And most people work some obsidian and some decent stuff anyway. So now you got a decent row of flakes on this side. See if we can, okay. And so I'm gonna braid down and then go the other way. Braid that pretty doggone good, okay. I'm gonna drive these in. This is kind of a flatter side. So I wanna hit a little higher up on the platforms and then just drive in. Right here. Drove off a really nice flake there. Yeah, even if you've never flint knapped before in your life, you can do this. And yeah, if you want to get really well at it, really good at it, it'll take some practice. Oh, see that? Sometimes that stone can be stubborn and it can draw off a little bit more than you want to. Luckily, we got this a little bit wide enough to where it won't be a problem. Not a problem at all. So now we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side and then clean it up. And it'll be a finished point. There we go. Just cleaning up some of those edges there. Needed to be cleaned up. If there's like a little jagged edge, you wanna make sure you get to that. You don't wanna leave those. Then your point wouldn't look as good. All right. The blade section of this looks fairly good. Still gotta bring this in just a tad on this side. Which way do I wanna go? I'm gonna go this way. I think the hardest part of making points is getting them symmetrical. Takes the longest amount of time out of everything that you do. The longest amount of time for me it takes to do a point is trying to get it symmetrical. I hope my head isn't in the way. Hopefully you can see this. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice. You almost have to have a perfectionistic spirit about you to make sure every little dot and T is crossed and dotted. It's a little bit up on this side. Want to hit it back in just a tad. Trying to get this to be even Steven. You can go in right here, and then down. And that looks fairly even to me. Just have to clean up the base now and we'll have a complete point. You also don't want to lose the length that we have on that base. This base is usually fairly long on Marion Points. So a little bit of a curve, nothing too crazy. All right, so I just completed the Marion Point. Came out relatively thin, not too shabby. Got the base right, and fairly flat. So not my best point, but not too shabby. Made of coral, and it's not very translucent, but it's very pretty to look at. So I'm hoping to make a full-fledged video on how to make some points in the future, and because I know some people would enjoy, you know, watching from start to finish. But I also want to do some videos on how to do specific techniques and work around maybe some tough stuff like this whitish area in here, and make some prettier points. Now this other material was what's much easier to work, and that's why I was able to get that one so thin, as well as some of this coral that came from Ryan Chatterson, extremely see-through as well. And then this is some coastal I collected, and it depends on the material. And so some material will be better than others, and some will be just awful. And so it just kind of depends on the material that you get. But this is the finished point for today. Thanks for watching.